back, everyone, to Just Football, Not Soccer. So today we're going to be discussing the 2023 Ballon d'Or list. So a few days ago, the list had come out with 13 nominees, players from all over the world, across different countries. So we're going to be going through that list, and we're going to be naming our own top three players we believe will come from first to third. We're also going to be listing three players that we feel that shouldn't be on that list. Also, three players that we feel that should be on that list that didn't make that list. And then we're going to go through one more thing that I've prepared for Mico. I haven't told him. We'll get to it at the end. And I think it'll be a bit of a surprise. But Mico, what's going on, brother? How are you?
All good, guys.
Okay. All right. So the 2023 Ballon d'Or list, right? So for those of you that don't know what the Ballon d'Or is, first of all, I don't know if you should be watching this podcast, but if you are, so it's essentially an award that's given to effectively the best player in the world. It's voted by football players, the football journalists, the media, as well as pundits. And this year they've provided a list of 30 players. So what we'll do is we'll go through that list very high level, and we'll pick and choose a few players that we want to comment on, and then I'll jump straight into who's Mico's top three, who he think will come first, second, and third, and then we'll get straight into it. All right. So the 2023 Ballon d'Or list starts with the following names. So we have Julian Alvarez, obviously from Manchester City, did very well with Argentina at the World Cup in 2022. Also went on to win the treble with Manchester City, so winning 4 big trophies at a very young age. Not very many people could say that. We have Nicola Barella. We have Jude Bellingham, who's obviously just moved to Real Madrid and having a fire of a start there. 5 goals in 4 games. Actually just scored for England yesterday. We have Karim Benzema. We have Yassine Beno. We have Kevin De Bruyne. A lot of people would vouch, I think maybe not this year, but prior years, he probably deserved to win the trophy. Now more so than ever, having won the treble. We have Ruben Dias from Manchester City. Antoine Griezmann, always a controversial player, moving between teams from PSG to Barcelona to Atletico Madrid, back at Atletico Madrid for last season, having a very good season, surprisingly. We have Igor Gundogan, also the captain with Manchester City that won the treble. We have Josko Bardiel, Erling Haaland, who we'll get into. We have Harry Kane, Randall Colomani. We have one player you'll know from Napoli is Kvaratskhelia.
Osimhen, you have Kvaratskhelia, Osimhen, Kim as well, the defender that went to Bayern Munich.
Yes. So we have Robert Lewandowski, Emilio Martinez, obviously the goalkeeper for Argentina. We have Lautaro Martinez, the Inter Milan player, obviously went on to the final of the Champions League and holding a key part as the captain. We have obviously Mbappe, we have Messi, we have Kim Min-jae, who was a player that was very much the reason why Napoli went on to win the league. Very solid in defense. Obviously Bayern Munich went on to buy him now. And a player in which Erik ten Hag actually wanted to bring to Manchester United. Then we have Luka Modric, obviously pretty much a standard on this list. We have Jamal Musiala, the young German player. Martin Odegaard, the Arsenal captain, who actually used to play at Real Madrid and was always touted to be a very good player. So it's good for me to see him actually achieving the early success in which a lot of people thought he would do. We have Andre Onana, the Manchester United goalkeeper. Probably the first time in years a Manchester United player is actually on that list, although he was playing in Inter Milan when he was nominated. We have Victor Osimhen. We have Rodri, Bukayo Saka, a great English player at Arsenal. We have Mohamed Salah, Bernardo Silva, and Vinicius Jr. So quite an illustrious list. So Mico, I'm going to start with you. From this list of 13 names here, let's go with your top 3 and why.
I didn't hear you, bro.
You didn't hear me? Okay, so I'll repeat again. Looking at the list, who is your top 3 players and why?
My top 3 players for last season, I'll pick Lionel Messi, 100%, number 1. And
okay, explain why.
First of all, okay, I can tell you, his season in PSG, second season in PSG, was better than the first season. But I will pick him because of his charisma in the World Cup, because he won the World Cup, and he was, I guess, without Messi, Argentina wouldn't win World Cup 100%. So his personality, how he was leading the team, and of course he doesn't have anymore the speed that he had when he was younger, but he's still probably the best player on the planet for now, even though he moved to MLS. But I believe that what he achieved with Argentina was written, and he did it. You know, after Maradona, the one with Argentina, he's the last one. So I guess he really deserved to win this Ballon d'Or. Also, I can keep Kylian Mbappe. Why? Because Kylian Mbappe had an extraordinary season. Also, he arrived to the final of a World Cup. He scored goals. He was always very dangerous player. He's super fast. I guess he doesn't gonna win this year, but if he will be very consistent, as I believe, he will win Ballon d'Or 100%, more than one for sure. And he's like Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi years ago. And probably he will compete with the third one that I'm gonna pick right now. That's Erling Haaland. He's a machine, man. He's a machine, goal machine. He scored a lot of goals first season in Manchester City. He was one of the reasons they went to the final of the Champions League. But he didn't play a great final, if you remember. If you watch the final in Istanbul, he didn't play well. But he reminds me Marco van Basten. If you remember Marco van Basten, probably Marco van Basten was more technical than him. He's stronger. But man, Marco van Basten was one of the best striker ever in the history, and I believe that Haaland will become one of the best striker ever, and that's my opinion. Of course, there are many other great players there. You can pick anybody, Salah or Benzema or Osimhen. Osimhen also is a really great striker, one of the best in Europe right now. And this is my top three.
Okay, I think it's a good list. I think it's a good list. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I want to say, what's yours? I mean, I'm curious to know, what do you think? And also, who you think gonna win and why? What's the reason why should win this Ballon d'Or? Because Ballon d'Or is not always 100%. On my opinion, 100% legit. I mean, a lot of times you have a lot of interest right now. Back in the day, it wasn't like that, but now you have a lot of sponsors. If you think about Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi, they were winning for a decade, and only them. Why? Do you think only because they were the best in the season that year? I'm not sure 100%.
Okay, so before I give my list of names, and to your point with regards to looking at the competition as a whole and looking at how retreatable it is, and you're quite right. I think this competition obviously is one which is supposed to be awarding the player that had the best season, right? Or the best year. And if you look at the past winners, obviously from 2019 all the way down to 2008, it was shared between Ronaldo and Messi. And Luka Modric was put in there in the 2018, obviously going to the final of the Euros and having a very good tournament and going on to win the Champions League with Real Madrid.
Man, but I have an opinion there. Sorry to interrupt you, Mikey, but I have an opinion there that Modric won the year. I guess Cristiano Ronaldo should have won the year. And Modric won because he stayed in Real Madrid. The Real Madrid has a very big power in terms of Ballon d'Or influence, and that's why Modric won the Ballon d'Or the year. Even though I have nothing against Modric, I mean, he deserved that Ballon d'Or, but
well, you say Ronaldo deserved it because he was at Juventus that year?
Yeah, if Ronaldo was still in Real Madrid the year, I'm absolutely sure he would have
but he
won
would
the
have won
Ballon d'Or.
he would have won the Champions League, so he would have warranted him to deserve that, right? He didn't. What did
Yeah,
he
yeah,
win
yeah.
at Juventus? But
I
yeah,
mean, he won the. I mean,
to that point, right? So obviously the tournament has been, I mean, the competition has been dominated by those two, and I think we were very lucky in our lifetimes to see such competitive nature between two of the best players to ever play the game. And I think before Ronaldo won in 2008, this was with Manchester United, the last time a Manchester United player has actually gone on to win the Ballon d'Or. And the last time a player from an English team has actually gone on to win the Ballon d'Or since, I'll tell you now, since Michael Owen in 2001 when he was playing for Liverpool, right? And
yeah, I
obviously a
remember him.
person that people sometimes ridicule by virtue of the way he goes about his punditry. If you've ever watched his punditry, he's drier than a desert, as well as he says the most obvious things. But anyway, very good player and obviously very deserving of the trophy. Also very much winning it, I think at the age of 21, Michael Owen won it. But going back to also the competition itself, I do agree with you that I think there's a lot of political influence on the winners here. In 2020, obviously, we had COVID and there was no award given. But there was still football that was played behind closed doors, if you recall. And I think a lot of people, by virtue of Bayern Munich going on to win the Champions League and having Robert Lewandowski be the striker that helped them achieve that, was very much deserving of that trophy. In the following year, in 2021, when Messi went on to win the Ballon d'Or, he openly said in his speech when he took the award that Lewandowski probably deserved it the previous year. So looking at the list now and who I will go with, I think that it's quite an obvious thing to put Messi there for number one. And I think it's quite a divisive topic in some regard because I think a lot of people obviously want to give it to him to your point of it was a match made in heaven. The story that everyone wanted actually unfolded. Messi going on to win a World Cup. The pictures that came out from that World Cup was obviously iconic, like Maradona, like Pele's pictures. And I think for the neutral, for anyone that loves the game, it was the best thing ever to see. And also because he had such a significant impact on them getting from the group stages where they lost their first game, going on to winning the final and having such an impact, right? I think
there are a lot of there are a lot of people, Mikey. There are a lot of people that if Messi wouldn't won the World Cup, they wouldn't consider him one of the best players in the world. There are a lot of journalists that they feel okay, he will be on the top 3 players in the history only if he wins the World Cup. And he did it. He achieved the goal. So now everybody that was talking shit about him before the World Cup had to shut up.
People will argue that he's only won one World Cup and not 3, right? Like Pele. So, I mean, the point is that, and I discussed this on our previous podcast, is that comparing Messi and Ronaldo, we are so silly to do that, man. They're both world-class players, and we both should actually appreciate the fact that they were playing at the same time. And we might actually see that same kind of competition between Mbappe and Haaland. But it's very unlikely to keep that kind of consistently for 15 years straight. It's never been done before, right? So we will see.
No.
So in my opinion, I think Messi will win. Whether he's deserving of it, I'm undecided because I like to look at players' impact on teams and what they achieve, right? Obviously, if Messi didn't win the World Cup, he would not be involved in this conversation at all because the games that he had played at PSG is a farmers' league. It's a very poor league. You can't put a person that's doing. That's why Mbappe hasn't won it to date. And you could also argue that Mbappe probably should have won it when they won the World Cup in 2018, being an 18-year-old going on it and also scoring in the final, right? So obviously, I think by virtue of the competition and who Messi is and everything is just going his way, he will win. So the second player I would put on there is Erling Haaland. And obviously because of his influence, coming to Manchester City for the first season, winning the treble, the top scorer, outscoring Alan Shearer, who held the record for 15, 20 years of the most goals scored in the season. He scored 52 goals in total last season, came with a massive impact, massive price tag, and he stood up to all expectations. And to your point, yes, he has a very good team around him. But the whole time when Messi and Ronaldo were winning, they had a good team around them as well. You can't negate that. But I think Erling Haaland will go on to win the trophy. Maybe if the thing is, anyone that goes on to win a treble, the Champions League, the Premier League, and the FA Cup, that's a very tough feat to make. The last team to do that was Manchester United in 1999 with Sir Alex Ferguson, right? And obviously now the competition is far more. It's difficult to compare. Even your conversation with Messi and Maradona, the competition is completely different now. The quality of play, if, for example, in the Premier League, the top 10 teams can all beat each other, right? It's not like in the past. So the competition, the level competition, so now to be the best player, you have to be a level above the rest.
True.
So we've even seen with Brighton now, they're able to attract players like Ansu Fati, who's touted to be the next amazing player. Barcelona even gave him the number 10 shirt after Messi to show that they believe in him. So my point is that
how much money Manchester City spent these years, and the players that Manchester City has on the bench, they can be first team on another team if you would have
but that's for a conversation for another day, because we can get into that conversation. Yeah. But so then the last player I would put on, you know what? I kind of feel like he's often overlooked, but I look at players with their influence, and I look at Ilkay Gündogan, right? The German player. He's just obviously moved from Manchester City to Barcelona, but a player of that nature is probably deserving to win that award, but he'll never win it because he's not out there in the media. He's not, you know what I mean? He doesn't have that aura. Mm-hmm. But obviously, number 3 is Kylian Mbappe, right? But again, is he deserving of winning? Probably not. Winning the French league is not much of an achievement. The only way Mbappe is going to go on to win this is when he moves to Real Madrid, and it will happen, right? To your point, Real Madrid. But now think about Real Madrid in next year when he goes. They're going to have 3 players that will be contenders for this award for a long time. It'll obviously be him. In my opinion, Vinicius Jr., I love him as a player. He's injured now, but I think he can definitely take on the mantle from Benzema. And then obviously when Mbappe comes, they're going to, and then obviously Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham for me will be a future Ballon d'Or. He is world class. He's 19 years old. He's had such an impact on Real Madrid already. He's already a starter for England. Mark my words, Jude Bellingham will be a Ballon d'Or. I have no doubt about that.
I have some concern about that, because to be midfielder, you had to be very much consistent, like a Modric, right? Luka Modric was for 10 years on the top class. And he has a very big potential. But how many young players with potential that we would have thought, okay, they're going to win Ballon d'Or one day? And they never even went close to win the Ballon d'Or. You remember Mario Balotelli, that he played in Liverpool, right? Even Manchester City.
And of course, I remember him, man.
So a lot of young players with big potential doesn't mean they're going to win the Ballon d'Or. They have to be very consistent. I mean, Bellingham started the season as a top-class player, but let's see in 3-4 years how it's going to be.
Yeah, it all comes down to consistency. I mean, the term world-class should only be handed out to players when they have 3-4 seasons of consistently being at the highest level. Looking like Mohamed Salah. For 3-4 years at Liverpool, he's been banging in 30-40 goals, right? That is a world-class player. And this is part of my argument as to when Manchester United fans say Marcus Rashford should be there. No, he shouldn't, because he has not been consistent. Yeah. Yes, last season was one of his best goal-scoring seasons, but can he do it this season? Can he do it next season? Then you start to invite him into these conversations, right? Okay, so that's the top 3 players we have. We're very much aligned. I think it is obvious, but I like to also play devil's advocate. I think this will be the last time Messi goes on to win. And it will be his 8th Ballon d'Or, outclassing Ronaldo by 3. And in my opinion, still probably going to go down as the best player to ever play the game. All right, moving on. So now we're going to look at the list, and we're going to see the 3 names that you feel that shouldn't be on that list. And I mean, we don't have to be too critical about it, but I mean, just go through it. I think the next set of questions will be interesting with regards to who you think should have been on that list. So go ahead and tell me looking at that list now, who you think probably shouldn't deserve to be on that list.
On the list, I don't remember all the 50 players they are on the list, but I mean, for sure, I guess everybody deserves to be on the list. But there are some players they didn't win anything, and I like Odegaard, for example. I guess he's a genius. He's a very smart player, but he didn't win anything. And be on a Ballon d'Or is also winning a trophy, right? Also, it's not only about one season, I believe. You mentioned before Michael Owen. Michael Owen had probably only 1 or 2 seasons, and very good.
No, Michael Owen at Liverpool from a very young age up until he went to Real Madrid was the best player in the world, dude, for five, 6 years.
Okay, we can have a debate here, and I don't.
And I'll tell you one thing: I don't like Michael Owen, but we're here to talk football, not to talk about who our favorite players are, right?
Yeah, sure. and so probably also, I don't like Onana, as I told you in the last podcast. I'm not a big fan of Onana. So he played a good season. Also good Champions League, but I mean, he's not a top player, on my opinion. So Onana, for sure, definitely not in the list. Also Lautaro Martinez. Why? Lautaro Martinez, great player, but he didn't score any goal in the World Cup. So of course he went to the final of Champions League with Inter. But do you remember that he missed an easy goal against Manchester City in the final? So if you don't have that personality, that charisma to lead the team, so to be a leader when the team needs you, I don't know. I would pick him in the Ballon d'Or list of this season. He started this season very good in Italy, but it's not enough.
Yeah. Look, I do agree with you in the sense that they all probably deserve to be on there, but I think it's pretty obvious, and it's never going to happen where a goalkeeper goes on to win this trophy. And if you're looking at the list already, there's 3 goalkeepers on this list. So those are the 3 that I would take off the list, to be quite honest, right? Because I mean, yes, we could argue that goalkeepers should deserve to be on that list, but in all honesty, what do people like in football? What wins games? It's goals, right? So Onana, I agree. Yes, he had a good Champions League, went to the final. Did they win? No. It got him the move to Manchester United, which is what he's probably deserving of. And obviously, we have Emilio Martinez, who some would argue probably deserves to be on the list because of the influence that he had in Argentina and them going up to win the World Cup. And also, one thing about Mbappe, why he also deserves to probably be considered, is he scored a hat-trick in the World Cup final, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see Messi or ever Ronaldo doing that, right? Which is also a good thing. And he scored in the final when they won the World Cup. And then obviously the goalkeeper, Yassine Bounou, who is the Moroccan goalkeeper. He plays in Saudi Arabia, right? But again, I think that having defenders
Man, let's be honest. If Buffon didn't win the Ballon d'Or, no one else can win.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that next. We're going to look at 3 players, and we can maybe separate the goalkeepers in that conversation, who we feel deserved to win this and never did deserve to win this in the past, right? So, I mean, those goalkeepers, and I mean, to your point, you're looking at Odegaard and Bukayo Saka, they both play for Arsenal. Extremely talented players, world class in the sense that they have the potential. They haven't achieved their potential yet. But they didn't win anything. They came second in the league. And this is an argument a lot of people would have with regards to, I suppose, who was more successful last season if you're comparing the top 4 teams in England. Right? Obviously, Manchester City went on to win everything. Second was Arsenal. Third was Manchester United. Fourth was Newcastle. But if you were to compare Arsenal and Manchester United, who was more successful? Some would say Arsenal because they finished second. But who won a trophy? Who went to a final? My point is that it's very divisive, and this is what we had to do. This is all fan opinion. So we're going to stop there right now. So for those of you that are listening for the first time, please subscribe. Please like that video, subscribe. Leave your comments in the comment section, as Mico goes. Liked. All right, moving on to who we feel should have been on that list and didn't get on that list, Mico. Name 3 players from last season you feel deserve to be on that list that didn't go onto that list.
Okay, 3 players of last season. Going back to goalkeeper, probably who expected to be there as a goalkeeper, Ederson.
Yeah, he's world class, man. He's world class. But Alisson is a better goalkeeper, if you ask me.
Yeah. You know what? He's not only good in the goal. He's good with his left foot. He's very good. Usually, if you see how Manchester City plays, all the actions start from him. He's the first, I like to say also midfielder. He's like Xavi and Pirlo. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but he's a world class, and I expected him to be there because he won everything with Manchester City. So that's 100%.
And just to interrupt you, we will one day bring on Brad Friedel, and we will discuss the goalkeepers, and we will compare old goalkeepers to modern day goalkeepers who play out from the back, who become the sweeper keeper, effectively the 11th man. You're looking at even the way Onana plays, very high up the pitch. I think Alisson and Ederson have been the players, as well as Manuel Neuer, of course, have pioneered the new wave of goalkeeping. So, okay. Who else?
Probably talking about also young players. I like Pedri, the golden boy of Barcelona, and very talented. He had a good season.
I suppose you could say Gavi as well if you're looking at those kind of players.
Yeah, Gavi as well. They're very young. I guess most talented young players that we have on this planet right now. So I expected them. And I don't know, I'm very too sentimental, and I like to always pick somebody at Juventus, but I'm thinking I don't have anybody right now that I can pick on this list from Juventus team. But going probably to the best teams, even if I go to PSG, Marquinhos or Verratti. I like Verratti. He just moved to Saudi Arabia.
He's just gone. Just moved to Saudi. He played a long time with PSG, eh?
Just moved to Saudi, but he was very consistent in Liga, even in Champions League for years for PSG. He didn't play a bad season, not great season as before, but not bad season, and I guess he deserved more. Don't forget, Marco Verratti went from second division in Italy directly to PSG. So it was a big challenge for him, and I guess he did very well, and probably I would have loved to see him in the list.
Yeah, no, I think talking about consistency, he's managed to attain that at PSG, and he's deserving of his move to Saudi. If you're thinking for me again, I think the conversation should always revolve around focusing on last season, not focusing on prior years of what people achieved in prior. It needs to always be the season that's in question. So I think a lot of people would argue that Marcus Rashford should have been on that list. He scored 30 goals in the Premier League. I don't know so much. For me, Marcus Rashford isn't a world-class player. He's not consistent enough. And I think that is what determines a world-class player. But if you're looking at goal output and influence on a team, he held Manchester United for a long time last season. He did have dips in form. And I think that is always going to be he's Achilles' heel. He's just not consistent. And let's see how he does this season. If he goes on and does the same thing as he did last season, then I would say he's probably more deserving. Then there's a player that I absolutely love, that plays at Barcelona, Frankie de Jong. I think Frankie de Jong is an amazing player, the conductor, the maestro, the magician. I do think that he's got faces a lot of competition at Barcelona with the likes of Pedri and Gavi. But last season, it looked like he was actually going to be leaving to Manchester United. Eric Ten Hag wanted to reunite with him, but he didn't want to leave. Um, there was talk of Barcelona owing him, I think, close to 17 million in payments that they owed him because he had agreed to stop payments during COVID to help the club, and he was owed money, and they were trying to sweep it under the carpet, which led to him probably staying and sticking his feet in the ground. And he went on to have a very good season. And I think so. Yeah, so Rashford, I think, probably should have been on that list. I think De Jong, and I think one thing we haven't mentioned is it's the first time in, I think, 19 years or something like that, or 15 years that Ronaldo wasn't on the list for the first time, the 38-year-old. Look, none of us expected it, but it's the turn of the times, and I think that's something we have to acknowledge, that this is the last season Messi will likely be on that list, and it was the last time Ronaldo was on that list. So it's now handed over to the new guard of player, I believe. So the last person I would say.
So you will pick Ronaldo?
No, I wouldn't put him. I just said we never mentioned that he wasn't on this list. I wouldn't put Ronaldo there. No, definitely not deserving of it.
But I mean, he was already playing last season in Saudi Arabia. So I believe.
But if you look at Ronaldo the year before, he was put on the list because at Manchester United that season when he was playing, he scored 18 goals in the worst Manchester United team. So he was deserving that season. And I think, who else? Yeah, I would say probably. Yeah, it's difficult to say because I think a lot of the players I'm trying to think of like a player that stuck out. You know what? If you're going to be considering players' influence on a team and considering the World Cup as well, maybe someone like Amrabat should have been on that list, right? Took Morocco to the semi-final. Look, it's controversial, but I mean, do you think a player like Amrabat deserved it better than maybe like an Odegaard or something? Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, maybe not, maybe.
Amrabat last season with Fiorentina didn't play for 6 months, 5 months. He was injured, so you only World Cup. Right? Okay, but then he was Odegaard, he played the whole season, right? And he had a fantastic season. But Amrabat didn't even play for Fiorentina, and I mean, play only in the first part of the season, and that's why I would. I'm not surprised not to see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a pretty obvious one, but I think a lot of people would argue again. What are we basing this on? The World Cup, the season ahead? Because if it's based on the World Cup, yes, Messi deserves to win, but what are we taking into consideration? It's everything, right? So yeah. I would say that. And to end off, we are coming to the end of the podcast. I'm going to give you one name that you feel should have been on that list from the past and never made it onto it. So you have one name. It could be Buffon. It could
from the past?
Whoever you think it is. And I can give you time to think about that.
They shouldn't be.
And if you want, you're more than happy to search the list of players that are on that list.
Uh-huh. I didn't hear you, bro.
So,
sorry.
You can't hear me at all?
I didn't hear you. I guess the connection wasn't good.
My question to you is, pick one player that you feel like deserves to be on that list from the past that never made it onto that. It could be Buffon. It could be whoever you think it is.
I mean, if I had to pick a player from the past that for me should have won the Ballon d'Or, will be Del Piero.
Yeah,
Alessandro
name,
Del
right?
Piero. Yeah, man.
That's a good name, yeah.
Masterclass.
The last Italian to win that was actually a defender, Fabio Cannavaro, by virtue of them going on to win the World Cup in 2006. Yeah. Literally the last Italian to do that. And before that was Roberto Baggio. So, to be fair to Del Piero, I agree. I mean, he was one of my favorite players growing up, for sure, especially on FIFA. In my opinion, I think a player that deserved I mean, I'm split between two players.
Only
I'm gonna
mentioning
focus
Del
on.
Piero. Only mentioning Del Piero, I have a good pound.
Yeah, no, he was a step above the rest, and also a player that was consistent from season to season, and also, I mean, a very loyal player, going down with Juventus, coming back up after they were deducted points, much like Buffon. For me, in my opinion, I think a player that should have been on that list that is still often overlooked as being considered as one of the world's best players ever is Thierry Henry. Henry, for me, when he was at Arsenal, was different gravy, man. Different gravy, dude.
TT. Wow.
Yeah, dude. For me, what a player, man. What a player.
Like Italians say, mamma mia.
When you talk about class,
incredible.
He exudes
Incredible
class,
player.
man. Exudes class. But yeah, I think for me, that's the person I think that he would have been nominated for sure, but he never went on to win. And I think because of the time in which he was at the peak of his game, they had Kaká, they had Ronaldinho, they had Shevchenko, they had, that's what I would say.
I restarted his let's say his career like a top level in Juventus. He didn't play that great because he was playing as a wing.
Winger, yeah.
Yeah, but man, I was in love with even Juventus. He was an incredible player. You could tell the talent of the player, the fast, the speed, the technique, everything. Man, he was a great striker. I don't know. For me, him and Zinedine Zidane as a French player, some of the best in the history.
And you know what's so crazy? Zidane won it once in '98, right?
Yeah.
Only won it once, dude.
Yeah.
But we've come to the end of the show. Thank you to everyone that's been listening. I think it was quite a cool one to go through it. And what we'll do is when they do give the awards in October, we'll cover this again and give our opinions as we always do. This is just fan opinion. Please leave your opinion in the comments. So like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our social media channels. Mico, any closing remarks?
I mean,
this weekend, the leagues kick off again. The Premier League starts again. The Italian league's gone. The international break, thankfully, is done. International friendlies are over. Thank the Lord. Some big games this weekend. So yeah, anything you're looking forward to?
Some very big games that I want to watch and then discuss for sure. Even in the Italian league, there are two very big games.
Okay.
Very big.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mikey. Ciao.